Starting from fact 30, have you heard about Finandu? Yeah, most people haven't. It is the deepest cave in the UK, located in Wales. It goes over 275 to 309.5 meters underground and contains more than 60 kilometers of explored underground passages, making it the third longest cave network in the entire United Kingdom. Fact 29. The English countryside you've seen in movies and TV shows, a lot of it isn't actually England. So many films and series that are set in England, marketed as English, sold as English, were actually filmed in the Scottish Highlands or the Welsh Mountains because they're more dramatic. Fact 28. Birmingham has more canals than Venice. I know how that sounds, but it's true. Birmingham has around 35 miles of navigable canals running through it. Venice has around 26 miles. Birmingham has significantly more. Those canals were built in the late 1700s and early 1800s when Birmingham was the manufacturing engine of the world. Coal, iron, copper, guns, all of it moved through those waterways. The canal network was basically the circulatory system of the British Industrial Revolution. Fact 27. The UK has more castles per square mile than almost any country on Earth. Over 1,500 in England alone. Then you add Scotland. Then you add Wales. You end up with thousands of castles packed into a country roughly the size of the US state of Oregon. Medieval Britain was essentially an arms race. Fact 26. Every single whale and dolphin in UK waters is technically owned by the king. There's a law from 1324, 700 years ago, that says all fishes royal, which includes sturgeons, whales, dolphins, and porpoises, belong to the crown. And that law has never been repealed. Fact 25. London sits on a tidal river, and the Romans chose that spot on purpose. The Thames rises and falls twice a day through the very heart of central London. When the Romans arrived and decided to build what became Londinium, they picked this specific bend in the river because those tides made it navigable from the sea, perfect for trade and military access. The tides that shaped one of the greatest cities in human history are still moving through London today, twice. Every single day. Fact 24. Edinburgh Castle sits on the plug of an ancient supervolcano. That dramatic, almost impossibly steep rock the castle is perched on, that's the solidified core of a volcano that last erupted about 350 million years ago. The whole dramatic layout of Edinburgh, its ridges, its hills, its valleys, was carved by ancient volcanic activity. It's honestly one of the most geologically wild capital cities on Earth. And almost nobody frames it that way. Fact 23. Scotland covers 32% of the UK's land, but only 8% of its population lives there. 2/3 of Scotland is essentially empty. The Scottish Highlands are vast in a way that's genuinely difficult to comprehend until you've driven through them yourself. Hours of driving through mountain passes, along lochs, past ancient forests, and sometimes not passing through a single town. Sometimes not even seeing another car. And yet somehow, Scotland is the part of the UK most people imagine as dense, grey, and urban. It's the complete opposite. Fact 22. New Zealand and the UK are roughly similar in size, but New Zealand has around 5.5 million people. The UK has 70 million. Same amount of space, 15 times the people. Fact 21. Did you know there is a town in the UK with a population of fewer than 400 people? Fordwich in Kent is officially, legally, a town, the smallest in the entire United Kingdom. It's smaller than a lot of apartment blocks, but it still holds ancient town status, and it has the tiniest town hall in England. Fact 20. Manchester was the world's first industrial city. Not the first in Britain, the first anywhere on Earth. Manchester invented what it means to be an industrial city. The factories, the mass production, the enormous working population, and the social upheaval that came with all of it. Fact 19. London was the largest city in the world for 90 consecutive years. From 1835 to 1925, no city on Earth had more people. It was the center of the world's most powerful empire, growing rapidly through trade and factories. London became the first city in human history to pass 2 million people. Later, it reached 7.5 million. To keep that giant machine moving, London built the world's first underground railway system. Fact 18. The island of Great Britain is physically tilting. During the last ice age, a massive ice sheet pushed Scotland down into the Earth's mantle. Since the ice melted 10,000 years ago, Scotland has been slowly bouncing back up. And because the island behaves like a giant seesaw, this rise forces southern England to sink. Parts of Scotland rise by up to 10 centimeters per century, while parts of England sink at a similar rate. This also increases flood risk in the south, including London. Fact 17. The Gulf Stream is the only reason the UK feels livable the way it does. The UK sits at the same latitude as parts of Canada that freeze for months every year. But Britain avoids that fate because of a warm ocean current flowing from the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf Stream. If it weakens significantly, temperatures across the UK could drop by up to 8 degrees Celsius. The mild climate, green landscapes, and seasons people know are all powered by borrowed Atlantic warmth. Fact 16. The Orkney Islands get almost 19 hours of daylight in summer. In June, the sun barely sets there. It dips below the horizon for only a couple of hours before rising again. Locals call it the simmer dim, a strange half-light where true night never fully arrives. Your body expects darkness, but the sky refuses to cooperate. Fact 15. There's a village in Scotland that gets colder than the South Pole. In January 1995, it recorded minus 27.2 degrees Celsius. That's colder than the average summer temperature at South Pole research stations. The place is Altnahara, a deep inland valley surrounded by mountains. Cold air sinks, gets trapped, and cannot escape. So on clear winter nights, the temperature keeps falling, deeper than most people can even imagine. Fact 14. The wettest place in England gets over 3.5 meters of rain every year. Seathwaite in the Lake District averages around 3,552 millimeters of rainfall annually. To put that in perspective, that makes it one of the wettest inhabited places in all of Europe. Same country, completely different planet from London. Fact 13. London is not actually rainy. I know, this one is going to feel wrong, but London receives around 600 millimeters of rainfall per year. Rome gets about 800 millimeters. New York gets around 1,200. Sydney gets around 1,200 as well. What London has is gray skies, frequent drizzle, a persistent low-level dampness that spreads itself across many days throughout the year rather than arriving in heavy downpours. The rain that does fall is constant rather than intense. London drizzles. It doesn't really pour. Also, London is actually one of Europe's driest capitals. Sounds unbelievable, right? Fact 12. England's eastern coastline is losing roughly 2 meters to the sea every single year. Coastal erosion is swallowing England's east coast. Entire medieval villages, places that had names, people, churches, have already disappeared under the North Sea. This isn't something that's going to happen in the future, it has already happened. Fact 11. Britain was not always an island. Just 8,000 years ago, genuinely recent in geological terms, the UK was physically attached to mainland Europe. There was a landmass called Doggerland stretching across what is now the North Sea. People walked between Britain and continental Europe. Animals crossed freely. Then, the sea levels rose after the last ice age. Doggerland flooded. Britain became an island almost by accident, and the English Channel is a geological newcomer. Fact 10. The UK has the third longest coastline in Europe, 12,430 kilometers. Only Norway and Greece have longer shores. Surprisingly, the UK's coastline is longer than the coastline of the contiguous United States. Even more shocking, coastlines grow longer when you measure them with a smaller ruler, because you catch every tiny wiggle. Using this method, the World Resources Institute measures the UK coast at an amazing 19,717 kilometers. This happens because of the coastline paradox. Fact 9. The UK has over 6,000 islands. People picture 2, maybe 3 if they remember the Isle of Wight. The real number is over 6,000. Most of them are empty, wild, and completely untouched. Scotland alone accounts for nearly 800 of them. Fact 8. No point in the entire UK is more than 113 kilometers from the sea. Anywhere you stand in the United Kingdom, any city, any village, any field, you are within 113 kilometers of the ocean. That's the maximum. For most of the country, it's far less. Fact 7. The English Channel is the busiest shipping lane on the entire planet. Over 500 ships a day pass through it. Not the Suez Canal, not the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow stretch of water between England and France is the single most trafficked waterway on Earth. Every day, 500 ships, through a gap that's only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Fact 6. England's famous Lake District doesn't have any of the UK's biggest lakes. Windermere, the most photographed, most visited, most postcard famous lake in England, is only the 10th largest lake in the UK. The genuinely big ones are all in Scotland and Northern Ireland. The Lake District has been selling itself on a reputation its lakes don't quite back up. Fact 5. The biggest lake in the UK is a place most people have never heard of. Not Loch Ness, not Loch Lomond, Loch Ness. Loch Ness in Northern Ireland covers roughly 396 square kilometers. It is enormous, far larger than anything in Scotland or England, and it barely gets a mention in any conversation about British geography. Northern Ireland's lake quietly being the biggest in the UK while everyone argues about Scotland feels very on brand for Northern Ireland. Fact 4. Loch Ness holds more water than every lake in England and Wales put together. Every lake in 2 entire countries doesn't add up to what's sitting in this one Scottish loch. And the thing Loch Ness is most famous for, the monster, has never been proven to exist. It's the world's most volumetrically impressive lake, and we mainly talk about it because of a blurry photograph from 1933. Fact 3. England's highest mountain is Scafell Pike, which is 978 meters. In Scotland, 978 meters wouldn't make the top 75 peaks. Not even close. Scotland has 282 mountains above 3,000 feet, called Munros, after the Victorian surveyor Sir Hugh Munro, who catalogued them. Scafell Pike's height doesn't qualify as a Munro. It doesn't meet the threshold. Every single one of the 75 highest peaks in the United Kingdom is in Scotland. There are dedicated walkers who spend years climbing all 282 Munros. The project has its own name, Munro Bagging, and a community of thousands of people. England has one mountain that feels significant. Scotland has a mountain range. These are genuinely different conversations. Fact 2. Wales is completely missing from the UK's own flag. The Union Jack, the flag that represents the United Kingdom. It has the Cross of England, the Cross of Scotland, the Cross of Ireland. Wales, one of the 4 nations, is not there, not a trace. When the flag was designed, Wales had already been merged with England, so it wasn't considered separately. Which means the Welsh dragon, one of the most iconic national symbols in Europe, and here we are. Fact number 1. The fact I think about more than any other when I consider how interconnected the world is and how much geography shapes everything we take for granted.